Early Monday morning, U.S. Eastern Time, AWS experienced a broad-scale outage affecting dozens of its services and, by extension, numerous apps, websites, and digital platforms across the globe. The Washington Post. According to AWS status updates, the issues began with increased error rates and latencies in the U.S. East 1 region, Northern Virginia. The company later reported that the root cause was tied to a failure within its database service, DynamoDB, and related DNS resolution problems. AWS said most services had been restored to normal operation, though it cautioned that some queued requests or throttled operations might remain as full recovery continued. The ripple effects were wide-ranging, because many services, companies, and governments rely on AWS infrastructure. Here are just some of the affected platforms. Social/messaging, Snapchat, Signal, Discord, reports of issues. Gaming, Fortnite, Roblox, Clash Royale, Clash of Clans. Financial/cryptocurrency platforms, Coinbase, Robinhood, Venmo. Financial/cryptocurrency platforms, Coinbase, Robinhood, Venmo. Consumer apps and services, Duolingo, Canva, streaming services including Prime Video and smart devices like Ring, which is owned by AWS parent. UK Government and Financial Services, UK Tax Authority HM Revenue and Customs, HMRC, banks such as Lloyds Bank and Bank of Scotland reported disruptions. The fragility of centralized cloud infrastructure. Many companies opt to outsource their digital infrastructure, storage, compute, databases, to large providers like AWS because of cost efficiencies and scale. But this centralization means a fault in one provider or region can cascade across multiple industries. As one tech analyst put it, when you pull that big plug, everything basically becomes dumb. Business and consumer impact. For businesses, downtime means lost transactions, frustrated customers, branding damage, and potential regulatory/contractual impacts. For consumers, simple things like logging into apps, sending messages, or streaming services may suddenly be unavailable. Broader systems, with banks, governments, and major platforms involved, the outage highlights how society increasingly depends on digital back-end systems. Regulatory and strategic implications. Outages like this often spark policy debate. Are governments and large organizations too reliant on foreign/cloud providers? Should there be stronger regional backups, diversity of infrastructure, or mandates for resilience? The UK in particular raised these questions in this case. Not necessarily a cyber attack, but still a risk. AWS confirmed that the outage was due to an internal failure, not a malicious cyber attack. Yet from a broader viewpoint, the fact that one technical fault can have global impact raises concerns about how attractive such a failure could be to a bad actor, even if this incident wasn't intentional. The timeline and recovery. Around 3:11 a.m. Eastern Time, AWS posted that it was investigating increased error rates and latencies in its U.S. East 1 region. Over the next few hours, outages among dependent services grew extensively, Downdetector reports, corporate statements. By roughly 6:35 a.m. Eastern Time, AWS stated that most service operations are succeeding normally now and that the underlying issue had been fully mitigated. Some residual effects remained, queued work, slower responses, and services that still needed full recovery. What may come next? Root cause analysis. AWS will typically publish a more detailed postmortem explaining what exactly failed, how, why, what fix. Customer impact and liability. Some customers may seek compensation under service-level agreements, SLAs. However, standard cloud contracts often limit business loss compensation to credits or next-period discounts. Infrastructure diversification. Companies may re-examine how many cloud providers they use, how they architect for redundancy, and whether they use multi-region or multi-provider strategies. Policy/regulatory scrutiny. Governments may investigate critical infrastructure dependencies and possibly propose rules for digital resilience and backup systems. Public perception. Trust in tech platforms may be shaken. If users see major services fail, even temporarily, it can influence perceptions of reliability. Key takeaways. This outage demonstrates that cloud disruptions can be global disruptions. Even if your service isn't hosted on AWS directly, you may still depend on AWS indirectly, via APIs, libraries, platforms, hence the widespread of the impact. The single point of failure argument. The more our systems lean on a small number of large providers, the greater systemic risk becomes. Recovery was relatively swift, within a few hours, for the core fault, yet for many users and dependent systems the effects linger. Businesses and individuals alike should recognize that resilience, backup, fallback, alternative paths, is no longer optional in a cloud-centric world.